Welcome back, everybody, to Toronto Today here on the Parlay. I'm your host, Luca, alongside my co host, Michael, and we got a lot to get to before we chop up how the Leafs blew it and lost against the Coyotes and some TFC news and more. Let's get into our best bets. Mike, you're finally on in the winner's circle. That was a big win for you. As for myself, I drank that Bulls Kool-Aid. The big three came back for the Nets, and it was a disaster from that point on.
I needed that one. I absolutely needed that one, and my bet came through last night, and I was watching your game as well there, and I felt for you, man. I felt for you. Once I saw that, the big three was in the lineup with Harden and Kyrie Irving, it was a bit of tough for Chicago to kind of overcome that. And I think I saw you tweet out last night, and I fully agree. Right now, there's no team that's going to be coming close to the Brooklyn Nets, especially in the Eastern Conference, if those all three of those guys are in the lineup, Luca. So I feel you. Trust me, I know what it's like to lose, and I'm happy for myself that I got back into the winner circle.
Yeah, that was huge. The Hawks are a mess right now. The Heat not only cover the number, they destroyed the Hawks. That was a really good performance. The Heat are deep right now. That's a team to look out for in the East. There's one thing that can stop the Nets, and that's the Canadian border. That means Kyrie can't play. So just some food for thought. If there's a first round matchup between the Raptors and the Nets, Raptors could have some good value.
Well, home court advantage. I like it. So put some true meaning behind that.
All right, we're going to talk about our beloved Maple Leafs. They were actually minus 320 favorites against the Coyotes. They were huge favorites. It almost made no sense to bet them just because of how big of a favorite they were. And they lose this game 2-1. Our very own Kevin actually put some money on Arizona plus 1.5 and won that bet. I just wish he put the Coyotes money line because if you were feeling frisky with it, you would have got a pretty good return. The Coyotes were plus 255 on the money line. And also, if you went under goals that hit, that was set at 6 and only 3 total were scored. So was this your typical letdown game for the Maple Leafs? You almost got the feeling it was too good to be true. Matthews is homecoming, but it was the second night of a back-to-back on the West Coast. Did you see this happening, or are you genuinely shocked that the Leafs lost this game to a very bad Coyotes team?
Well, I just want to say, producer Kevin is just doing the exact opposite of what we're telling him to do because we were all in on the exact opposite bets yesterday heading into that game. And how could you not be with the way the Coyotes are playing, with the way the Leafs were rolling? And yeah, it was your typical letdown game there, Luke. The Leafs ran into a really, really hot goaltender, Karo Velmelka, if I'm not butchering his name, because he's nobody knows how to say it because nobody knew who the heck this guy was.
Yeah.
And the Leafs didn't really know who the heck this guy was, but what a performance. I got to give it up to him. 45 saves, which is quite remarkable, especially against a team like the Leafs. And yeah, I think it's more so just running into a hot goaltender. I don't really want to overanalyze kind of what happened there. I think it's just one of those games.
Well, something that did happen was Austin Matthews anytime goal. I know we both said he was going to score 2 or more. That didn't happen. He did get the one, and he sets a franchise record now with a goal in 9 consecutive road games. So that was the lone bright spot of a very bad night for the Maple Leafs. Let's talk about Mrazek because he's interesting to me. Just for reference, he did sign a 3-year, $11 million contract. And you look at Mrazek, he's only played in 3 games since signing that contract. He's been in and out of the lineup, missing a lot of time. And they need him to be that guy you can count on as that backup goalie. They viewed, him and Jack Campbell as kind of that duo, that tandem that was going to get them through the season. But right now, it's been Campbell leading the way and picking up the slack, whereas Mrazek's just been that guy that they've been throwing on the second night of a back-to-back. So where do you view Mrazek's fit with the Leafs, and do you think he can get some momentum going where the Leafs can have that luxury of having 2 good goalies that you can play?
Yeah, do they need him though? That's kind of where I'm at with Mrazek and kind of this whole contract initially. That was my thought when Kyle Dubas first dished it out, is throwing 3.8 million over 3 years at a goaltender like Mrazek, who historically he's had some really good seasons, but he's also had some really bad seasons. That's kind of the definition of his play. Now I know this season he's battled a lot of injury, but the reason I'm asking do they need him is because of what they had right under their wing, and that's Jack Campbell, who has proven that he is as steady and as reliable as they come right now. I know small last season was a small sample size, but I was willing to actually go all in on Jack Campbell after last season because it was a decent amount of games. I know he hasn't played this amount in his career yet, but goalies got to do it eventually. And I think it would have been better for the Leafs if they went out and they got a, a smaller, lesser commodity as a backup goaltender and give Jack Campbell the reins. Now Jack Campbell's his contract's going to be coming up, and he right now is looking like a Vesna goaltender. I'm wondering what his number will kind of be like at the end of the season, and do they have the cap room now to give him that extension, or is Mrazek kind of eating up all of that money? It's a predicament, and I'm not sure if any team around the NHL would actually even touch Mrazek's contract right now, Luca.
Yeah, I'm surprised the number that they gave him. And my whole take on two goalies is this: it works wonderfully during the regular season, especially giving that main guy much needed rest. But in the playoffs, I agree. You go with your best goalie. You do not play one goalie one time and the next goalie the other. You ride the hot glove of that goalie throughout. And we've seen it so many times. A goalkeeper gets hot and they can lead their team all the way to a Stanley Cup run. We saw last season with Carey Price. So yeah, I was shocked initially with that. And the fact that he has not been able to stay healthy, only playing in 3 games since signing that contract, it's not a good look right now. You hope he can turn it around. You hope he could be a valuable asset to this Leafs team. But right now, it's not looking like it was a good signing. So people who were very on the fence about it, they're being proven right as of now. And hopefully he can have some success, and he can develop a little bit of a rhythm. I think that's the biggest thing for him, because he keeps getting in and out of the lineup. That's been one of the biggest reasons why he can't develop any sort of flow. So we'll see what happens with that. But now let's move on over, Mike. You've been busy this morning breaking a lot of TFC stuff. So TFC have reached a deal that will see Soteldo depart the club just after 9 months. And in addition, can confirm that they'll be acquiring Mexican international Carlos. You can say his name here because I'm
Salcedo, I
yeah,
got
there you
you.
go. I'm always bad with these, these Mexican names, but yeah, that's. Can you fill us in on the latest out of TFC? Because I know you've been busy. You've been on those mentions, and you've been giving us the latest as you always do.
It's lockdown, man. What else? What else do I have to do? Let's dive into this though. Um, yeah. So what I'm hearing is Jefferson Soteldo will be on his way out of Toronto FC. This is a guy who was brought in about 9 months ago by former general manager Ali Curtis, and I think on the field the talent was all there. This is a guy who kind of screamed designated player. He had a lot of flair. He was exciting to the fan base, but he wasn't that name, that commodity. And off the field, I'm hearing he wasn't a fit. And I think that's kind of the biggest reason why we're seeing Jefferson Soteldo move on from Toronto FC. And in his place, they're going to be bringing in something they've needed desperately, and that's a center back in Carlos Salcedo. He's a Mexican international, as you mentioned there, Luca, and this is a guy who people in Mexico rate very highly. He's 28 years old. He kind of fits the mold of MLS. And I know Bob Bradley, who is now the Toronto FC coach and sporting director, he thinks very highly of Salcedo. So I'm excited to see how this move will transpire, and I expect it to become official probably this week, probably before training camp.
So, do you think this changes TFC's odds at all in terms of winning that MLS Cup? And do you see any other immediate moves happening with the club?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And to be honest, I don't. I don't see it kind of moving that needle too much. I know overall it probably makes the team slightly better, but they're going to be playing half the season without Lorenzo Insigne. And
Yeah.
I don't know if this necessarily gets them to the point where they're immediately a playoff team. Now, does it help come the summer? Perhaps. So maybe it slightly increases the odds, but overall, I don't see too much movement because of this.
Well, we'll see what happens with Toronto FC. I'm excited. I got to get the names right though before I can fully, rock the squad. Salcedo. Did I get it right?
Salcedo.
Salcedo. Okay, I
Got to add a
promise I'll
little
get it
bit of
right for the
Mexican
next show.
flair.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting, and I think there's just like a general buzz. Like you cover this team closely, and obviously you're very in tune with the fan base. Like I just feel like fans are excited once again. Like there's a lot of buzz. There's always that good feeling of what are you gonna find out next? Who's linked to TFC? Like there's a lot a reason to be optimistic. And I think if TFC is not going to be in the running to go for a run this season, they're going to be a contender. It's only a matter of time before next season. Am I fair to say that?
No, I think you're bang on. I think that is the club's ambition. There's still a lot of work to do, and as you kind of touched on last question, yeah, they're going to be bringing in a few more faces and potentially bringing back a couple and letting go of some as well. So keep it locked because there will be a ton of movement. And yeah, they lost that buzz, Luca, the last couple of years. You know, it's tough when you're not playing in Toronto and people are still trying to be in tune with the team. So they want to get back to what they were in the past, and that was the talk of MLS. And I think they're well on their way with a couple of these signings.
It's a good time to be a footy fan in this country. You got the national team
Seriously.
doing big things. I think they're in action in a few weeks' time. They resume things, and you got TFC doing some big things of their own, making some moves. So, fun time. Get invested. Good things are coming. All right, let's move on now to our Canada A athlete highlight. I'll let you go first. Who do you got for us? You got an interesting one here, I see.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of change it up a little bit, but keeping it with the TFC theme, I want to highlight Toronto FC's new professional FIFA player, and that's Goal Machine. This is a guy that I actually got to speak to and do an interview with for TorontoFC.ca, and I learned kind of a lot about him. But the main thing I learned is this guy is dang good at the video game, and he actually showed that in the first tournament of the year, the EMLS, which is the professional kind of North American FIFA league, where he represents Toronto FC. And his first ever tournament for the club, first ever EMLS tournament, he tears it up in the round robin stages, and he went 11 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws to finish in first place heading into the knockout rounds, which is this weekend. There's
Wow.
quite a bit of money on the line, but for a rookie, that's quite the mark in EMLS. So I got to give it up to Goal Machine for making some noise in his debut.
I'm glad you highlighted an esports athlete here, and I am going to use the word athlete because I think these guys and girls don't get enough attention and recognition. I mean, there's a lot that goes into gaming. Like people just think you just play a video game. Like, where's the skill in that? I had the chance to many times of covering some esports FIFA tournaments, and I tell you, things get intense. The
Hmm.
mindset you need to have going into each one of these games, which is essentially knockout round games, knowing that you're so close to that prize money, it's really wary on the psyche. So not only do you have to be composed while playing the game, but your mindset just has to be laser sharp going round to round. So I give everybody credit who's ever tried to compete in an esports tournament. And if you do happen to do it for a living, that's awesome. I have a ton of respect for esports players. And yeah, I think it's great that you used this segment to highlight one of TFC's own. So that's awesome. And good luck with the tournament upcoming. For me, I'm going to go back to the
Massive.
well.
Let me just say, massive betting space too in
Yeah.
esports. I know it's not quite there yet, where it's as accessible to everyone and on every site, but it's coming. And I know a lot of people who wager money on esports, so something to keep an eye on. But yeah, go ahead, Luca.
No, but that's actually a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up because when the pandemic first started and sports shut down, and we were kind of
Oh
looking at each
yeah.
other like, "What the hell's going on?" There was nothing going on other than esports, and people were wagering on esports, and it was great to see. And that's the time where I was covering some esports tournaments, and just to see how much went into it, and even the community of support that esports has. It doesn't matter if it's FIFA, NHL, NBA, it's not only a thing of the present, it's the future. You look at how much it's grown over the last decade. To think that you can actually make a living playing video games is absurd. And not only that, to think you can actually make some money now betting on video games is another story. So I'm glad you did point that out. All right, we
Yeah.
are going to move on to my Canada A highlight, and I'm going back to the well with this one, rightfully so. RJ Barrett, he's been a stud. 32 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, played great basketball as the Knicks beat the Mavericks. I stupidly picked the Mavericks in this spot. I think they were 2.5 point favorites. The Knicks not only covered, they won this game by 23 points. They blew the Mavs out, and the Knicks are playing some great basketball, and it's thanks to RJ Barrett, Mississauga, Ontario own RJ Barrett. He's been unbelievable. He's the first He's the youngest Nick in history to record 30 plus points in consecutive games. So Canada stand up, Mississauga stand up. RJ Barrett has been phenomenal. He keeps putting up these 30-point performances, and we've said it before on the show. The Knicks are going to go as far as RJ takes them. And obviously, there's some other guys that got to step up, a Julius Randle, and Emmanuel Quickly, that bench of the Knicks. But all in all, RJ's so young still. We forget how young he is. 21 years old. He's got so many good days ahead of him, and he can only get better. And it's great to see him hit his stride now, because he was struggling at the beginning of the season to get into a rhythm, but now he's hitting his stride, and we're seeing the result. When RJ has a big game, the Knicks typically follow suit and they win these games. So let's see if he could keep it up. And I know the Knicks are a rival of the Raptors. We don't want to see them succeed, but I think I can speak on behalf of many Raptors fans that you want to see RJ Barrett at the very least succeed.
Yeah, I think he started the season pretty decently, but then he got into that huge lull, as you were referring to, and started, really struggling there. And then, as you're saying, I'm really happy as well to see him pick it back up, which is great for Canadian basketball, great for the New York Knicks, and yeah, as I mentioned, he is really a leader not only for this Knicks team, but he's growing into a leader potentially for Canada basketball. And we talk about his points, his but he does everything. He facilitates, and he's also a really good perimeter defender, really underrated, I think, in that sort of aspect. So, yeah, I think that's a great shout again to our guy RJ Barrett.
And I'm going to be shouting out a lot of NBAers over the course of this show, because there's a lot of good Canadian talent in the league. It's unbelievable how much Canadian talent there is compared to 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So Steve Nash definitely put the stepping stones for future Canadian talent. And we even look at the collegiate rankings. There's a lot more good Canadian talent coming on in. So it's an exciting time for Canada basketball. All right, we are going to get to our best bets of the night. Mikey, you got the hot hand, man. I've lost I think my last two now after starting 2-0. So yeah, people are going to be listening to this. Can you pick another winner here on this Thursday night?
Let, let's go. Let's try and keep this train rolling. And I'm gonna go with the Brooklyn Nets, the team that killed your bet last night to cover a 7-point spread. They're the favorites against the OKC Thunder. I know that they are going to be playing in Brooklyn, so they might be without a few key pieces, especially on the second night of a back to back. But the way that Brooklyn's playing right now, I still do like Brooklyn's chances of covering that 7-point spread. And in addition, it's the OKC Thunder, who have been the subject of quite a few blowouts this year. So I'm hoping I can kind of stay hot, and they're at minus 110 there for that 7-point spread.
Yeah, they did lose a game this season by, what was it, 73 points. So
NBA record.
that's a pretty safe bet with the Nets. They shouldn't have a letdown, but who knows with them, right? For mine, I'm going to go back to a team that I bet on the other night, the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm actually surprised this line is very favorable for them, -4.5. You look at the Grizzlies; they're taking on the Timberwolves, by the way. The
Hmm.
Grizzlies, they've actually been, covering the number. 8 of the last 10 times they've covered the number, and they've actually had double digit wins in 5 of those. So for me, I guess Vegas knows something we don't know. Maybe they think Minnesota can keep this game interesting. They are coming off a win, and they have been playing really good basketball this season overall. But I just got to ride the hot streak of this Grizzlies team. They've won 10 in a row. I think they're going to make it 11 in a row. And John Morant, I can't believe once upon a time ago, people were questioning Ja Morant instead of, Zion Williamson, and people were talking about, can Ja Morant elevate himself as a top 10 under 25 player in this league. He's done wonders on this Grizzlies team. He's playing like an MVP candidate right now. Yes, I said it. He's playing like a superstar, and he's averaging 27.9 points per game during this entire win streak. He has been so fun to watch. I got to go with the Grizzlies. I got to ride this hot streak until it officially ends before my very eyes. So it's a small price, and I'm willing to pay it. -4.5. Give me the Grizzlies over the T Wolves.
I like that a lot, and Grizzlies are at home as well, so that line is quite surprising to me, especially with the way that the Timberwolves have struggled throughout the course of the year. I know they're playing well recently, but I still lean with you there. I like that bet, Luca.
Yeah, sometimes when you look at a line and it seems surprising, you're hesitant with it. But we even saw the other night with the Raptors. We're like, what? Phoenix only 4.5 point favorites? Well, the Raptors covered that spread. So sometimes you just got to ride with it, man. You got to just trust it and ride with it. We'll see if it happens again. But that is going to conclude the latest edition of Toronto Today here in the Parlay. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Again, you can follow the show everywhere on social media. We come to you Monday through Friday with Toronto sports and more. I'm your host, Luca Rosano, alongside Michael Singh. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you all again tomorrow. Take care.